through the diligence and constant participation of the people in government. No form of government can possibly fulfill the purposes and desires of the people without constant correction and from the people themselves. I would like to highlight 4 corrective action items. First, I believe that our educational system must reinforce the Constitution. Historically, most states have required a constitutional test at the junior high level. This would reaffirm the importance of the Constitution among our people. Abraham Lincoln once said, "Let it, the Constitution, be taught in schools, seminaries, and colleges. Let it be written in primers, in spelling books, and in almanacs. Let it be preached from the pulpit, proclaimed in the legislative halls, enforced in the courts of justice. In short, let it become the political religion of the nation." I believe that if we allow a generation to pass without any knowledge of the Constitution, a government shall surely emerge which has no use for it. Second, all people must have standing in court to uphold the Constitution. Lately, there have been many decisions of the Supreme Court which have denied people the standing to enforce the Constitution. The articles clearly identify that, and I'm wholly supportive of that notion. We are the posterity who were the recipients of the blessings of freedom our Constitution was intended to protect. As such, we should obviously have a cause of action in our court system to secure those blessings. Third, the people must have the right to recall and referendum. When our elected officials behave outside the boundaries established by the Constitution, all people must have the right and perhaps even the obligation to recall those officials from their office. When laws are passed so destructive and contrary to the wishes of the people, we must have the right to repeal those laws. I was proud to have introduced legislation this year which would have allowed referendum of the people. Unfortunately, the Democrat majority saw it unfit to move forward in the process. I hope to push forward with a Republican majority in the future. Fourth, in order to overcome the excesses of a growing federal government influence over the states, Article 3F states that state legislatures should refuse federal funding. In truth, this is like cutting off your nose to spite your face. Refusing federal funding causes a budget shortfall for key programs of importance to our state. It also reduces the inflow of money, which does help economic growth. Keep in mind, there is money coming out of our state in the form of taxes, and I believe it is there where the article should have focused the attention. I think a better response is for the state to withhold a proportional amount of revenue which the federal government would deny them for not passing a certain state legislation. So in other words, the federal government was going to offer several $1,000,000 if they passed a piece of legislation. They didn't do it, and they did not get that several $1,000,000. The state should have the right to tell its people to withhold those federal dollars in the form of taxes in direct response, proportional to that amount that they had been refused. I believe that these items should be considered for incorporation into the Articles of Freedom. Now I'd like to turn my attention to my experience as a legislator. I was elected in 2006 after winning a Republican primary. I ran on the platform of limited government, lower taxes, and stronger families. I wanted to bring a more conservative voice to the legislature, and I can tell you that this is not easy. When I came to the legislature, I found myself under the direction of Republican leadership that supported expansionary government and many liberal causes, much like the Democrats on the other side of the aisle. Subsequently, I helped to bring about change in our leadership, and I'm quite confident that under the direction of Paul McKinley, we are now working to limit the growth of government and protect the constitutional liberties of our people. Most legislators are recruited to run for office. I was not. I saw somebody whose policies I disagreed with, and I ran for office and won. In short, while most of my colleagues were invited to this party, I crashed it. I have seen that there are some candidates for office that are regarded by the party as preferred candidates. In reality, the only preference that should matter should be the preference of the electorate. I believe that we must rekindle a love of freedom within the hearts and minds of our people and allow their will to guide our government. This is the only manner in which liberty can be restored. The Articles of Freedom seem to forget one thing. Our government still must be controlled through the electoral process. If the people want big government, we get big government. If we are to limit the size of government, constitutional-minded legislators must emerge who will lead our people, who will demonstrate support for those ideas by winning elections. To ignore the electoral process is in some way just another form of tyranny. It is my hope that there are many other people who will step forward uninvited and crash this party as I did. I believe that this is the manner in which the people will regain control of the government. This year I'm seeking re-election. There has been a tendency among our people to say, vote everybody out. Unfortunately, if all voters behave in this manner, there could be no expression of their will at the ballot box. Some people are saying that conservatives are unelectable. I disagree. I believe that our people are very concerned about the direction that our government has taken over the past few years and perhaps decades. I believe that they want conservative change. I believe that my re-election will give courage to other conservatives to actually behave in a conservative fashion rather than be guided by a bogus view of public sentiment. My defeat would send a message that our people do not want conservative values in government. I am hoping that my conservative actions will ultimately be ratified rather than rejected by my constituents. Over the last several election cycles, money has played a greater role in influencing public opinion about candidates for public office. In essence, candidates with more funds from special interest groups are more likely to win. Often these groups demand special legislation to be enacted to benefit them at the expense of everybody else. In this manner, our freedom is being sold. Again, only through the diligence of our people and their hard work is this trend to be overcome. I want to thank you again for your important work in the Articles of Freedom and making a stand in the defense of freedom in America. Your hard work and diligence in the defense of freedom, I believe, will ultimately bring freedom and prosperity to us all. Thank you again.